Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of MixHax. What we do here is we run through a couple of topics. In today's topic, we want to talk about evaluation before you buy. So what you need to do before you buy in an attempt to save you some money. You know, maybe you waste your money on some flavors that you can't really use or apply anywhere else, or they're just generally not that great. So we're going to run through each of our processes and what we do before we actually buy a concentrate or decide to buy a bunch of concentrates, right? So I'll kick off. So on the site that you're looking, normally, I'm just looking at starting off looking at a web store where they've got concentrates. And of course, I've got a couple of things in my mind. I've either seen it in recipes, or I've taken notes down from watching one or two YouTube shows. And then what I do is I look at the ratings on the actual web store. There might be a couple up or might not be. That will then trigger me to do a Google search and check out what the Reddit review is and read the entire thing. You can't just read what was said by the reviewer. If you just scroll down, you'll see in that same thread, you'll find a bunch of other palettes, talking about what their experience is with this flavor and how it can be used and how much it should be used, and even in what recipes it was used. So that's extremely interesting, and that sets you in a bunch of directions, but it helps you really gather information about the concentrate or concentrates that you want to buy. Another thing that I will do is I will go on ELR or ATF and go and check and how many other recipes this concentrate is being used. Of course, you want to try and avoid a concentrate that's not used that much. Of course, if it's a new concentrate, then you can't do that. But if it is a concentrate that's been out for a while and there's a couple of recipes out for it, then, happy days, you can potentially go ahead and buy that concentrate. Another thing that I also do is, if you're looking at a concentrate and you want to see how it compares, we always talk about going on ATF, looking at the actual flavors and looking out how many recipes it's being used in, or you can just go to the top 100 and see where it fits in the top 100 and if it is even there, and then compare it to similar or same nature concentrates, and see where they are sitting in the top 100 to get an idea of, is this the actual concentrate that you want to buy, or do you potentially want to go another route and buy another one that might have a few more recipes that it's used in. So yeah, that's pretty much my process.
So my process, I kind of refined over time. It's not really that complex or anything, but I learned the hard way. Now, by hard way, I say buying something people say, oh, that's the best concentrate. Then I just bought it. Or I went to a shop and figured I'm looking for a coffee, and whatever the first coffee was, I just took it. So normally ends up bad, or I, with Murphy's Law, select the worst possible of the batch that's of all the coffees available. What I do now is I would first decide on what type of concentrate I would like. So, for instance, let's say I'm looking for strawberry. I would then start normally with a Google search to see what pops up. I would go through a few threads or articles or rated reviews of the concentrate. Then I would normally take the 3 top mentioned concentrates and read up on each to try and see what profile it has from the manufacturer's website. That is, if there is a description on the manufacturer's website. Then I would do a search on ATF and ELR for the same concentrates to see the highest rated recipes. I would then go into each recipe to see the flavor notes and see if there's any further explanations on the specific flavor. If that doesn't work, then I normally ask a few DIYers, fellow DIYers, or somewhere in the DIY community on a forum or some kind of platform. I would then basically do the same thing where I would take the top suggested. So let's say a specific strawberry is mentioned 5 times or more than the rest. I would take that strawberry, go through the same process, search ATF, ELR, and so on. If it works for me, then I would basically just buy the concentrate and mix it up. But if none of the two steps work, then I just go into a place like our PLCK Vapor. I would ask them, well, first I would explain to them I'm looking for strawberry. I would just expand a little bit and say, strawberry, I'm not looking for dessert strawberry or a candy strawberry. I'm looking for strawberry that's fresh, maybe ripe, but fresh fruit-like or fruit juice-like. They would then tell me this, this, and that. And my question on that would be, what would they recommend? And after that, what's the highest selling concentrate out of them all? It's not always the best, but that's generally a good guideline for me to go by. Then I would take the top 2 out of what the salesperson at the shop would suggest. I would just sniff them. And if I like what I sniff, or sometimes even taste the concentrate, if I like it, I would buy it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, back to step 1. That's my process.
Right, my process, looking at it from the perspective of somebody who's just started mixing and who wants to make good purchasing decisions to get concentrates that are going to serve them well in a range of recipes. My first port of call would be noted. Now, if I'm looking for an orange, I'll go and look up the noted orange episode, because that's the only place that I'm going to find like 20 different oranges reviewed side by side. Because reading one review of an orange where they say it's banging, you read another review of an orange and they say it's banging, but now what's the difference between them? Noted, they will tell you, this one is a little bit more waxy, but it's sweeter, that one's a little bit more potent, you get better value for money, etc., etc. So I watched the noted episode just to get a very good overview. And what that normally gives me is a bucket list of, the 3 or 4 or 5 top flavors in that profile that I should be looking at. My second port of call is Reddit. Unfortunately, the Reddit flavor review pages, there's quite a lot of reviews on Reddit that aren't on that flavor review page. And there's quite a lot of flavors that just haven't been done. So, I mean, you've got TFA flavors that have been there forever and you can't find them on the Reddit page, which is, it's a little bit frustrating, but Reddit would be my second port of call. Concrete River's site would be my third port of call, and his YouTube channel on flavor reviews. ELR, I will consult a little bit grudgingly because there's an awful lot of misinformation there. People that are testing the flavor 20% in 2014, but their review's still up, and they're saying no, the flavor doesn't work. Well, at 20%, no, it's not going to work. So ELR, I read it in case there's a gem in there, but usually there isn't. ATF for me is pretty weak on flavor notes. I generally wouldn't consult ATF. There's almost no flavors that have got flavor notes there. But as Dietz said, what I would do is I would find the flavor in the database, see how many recipes it's been used in, because that is a good indication to me of the versatility of the flavor. And then what I would do is I would click on on the recipes that use that flavor, which are done by the mixers like ID10T or Wayne or whoever, who are most likely to give informative flavor notes in the recipe of why they picked flavor X instead of flavor Y. So that takes a little bit more researching, a little bit more sort of trawling through information, but it can produce some nuggets. And then the last thing I do, which I found is quite a good site, is Bull City. Bull City's individual flavor reviews. There's sometimes some really good stuff in there, which can just give you a different facet of what you're looking at. But the one overriding thing that I would caution is, trust the flavor notes, but don't take them as being the Dead Sea Scrolls. Your palate can be different. Even if a highly respected reviewer loves a flavor or hates a flavor, it doesn't mean that you're going to share the same thing. So look broadly, cast your net wide, get as many opinions as you can, and then draw that good balance between effective, versatile flavors that are going to give you a lot of use, that are used in a lot of recipes, that give you good bang for buck when you buy the flavor. Focus on those staples first, and you won't go far wrong. Daniel.
All right. So for me, a lot of my what flavors I need to buy stems off developing recipes on stuff that I've tasted. So 90% of the recipes that I look to develop, it's something that I've eaten or drank that I would like to replicate into a vape form. And oftentimes I'll find that there's something that I've tasted that's brand new to me. So I think like a mango lassi would be one. I had a mango lassi for the first time this year. I know, shocking, but yes, it's the first time. And I'm used to a fruit mango. That's how I always saw mango. And when I'm looking at something like developing a mango lassi recipe and I don't have any mangoes, the first thing I look at is what are the components in that recipe. So if it's a mango lassi, I know it's a full cream curd or yogurt, and it's going to be a mango. And then I need to know, okay, so I don't have a mango, but I can replicate the base of the recipe, but the mango I can't meet, and I need a mango that's gonna mix in. It's not gonna sit on top of the mix. It's not gonna stand out from it. So I need something like a more syrupy or dessert mango that's bright. So like a riper mango. So now that I know like more or less what the flavors that I'm looking for, I'll list all the components that I'm missing usually on a recipe. So in this case, it would be mango, and I'll list all the different mangoes that you get. That's just, I go on the biggest list first so that I can start narrowing down. And from there, I will look at are there any reviews on it, or how many recipes have been mixed from these recipes, and that'll tell me how popular a flavor is. And that only narrows it down a bit. Like if it's something that's like a flavor that says mango shake, that's usually the mango that I would see in my mind fitting with something, and I need to go confirm that. So I'll read reviews on eJuice subreddit, or I also look at Wayne's flavor book to see if there's been a note in there. So if it's something like the more popular ones like CAP or TFA, then Wayne's flavor book's got notes there as well on it, and just to see what the recipe is mixed at, or is this a potent flavor, or do I need to buy a lot of it? For instance, like a 20 ml bottle instead of a 10 ml bottle. And then from there, I will look at actual recipes. So on ELR or ATF, hopefully you get ones with notes on ELR that I find very difficult. Sometimes on the actual flavoring, you'll get notes, and I will look at those notes to see like how new they are. So I think like as Richard mentioned, some of them are like at 20%, and that was on a like mouth to lung device. And I'm looking for a direct lung like vape, and I don't think 20% is going to cut it for me. So then I'll look to see if anyone's used it lower. If it hasn't been used lower, then it's sort of risky for me, and I'll put that in like a higher risk category, and I'll move on to ATF and see if someone's mixed a recipe up there, and look at what kind of recipes are mixed up. So if I'm looking for now this ripe mango that sits in a milkshake or a yogurt base, and somebody used it in a mango sticky rice, for instance, and says that the mango sits on top of the mix, it's the perfect one to sit on top of the mix, that's not what I'm looking for. So I will move past that and look at, say, a mango that sits in the mix, something that can blend well with the creams. And then that sort of narrows the decision down. Then I usually sit with about 4 flavorings. And like I think Richard mentioned, well, Boost City flavor, but the other ones also, eSig Express also has a lot of reviews on, and Chef's Flavors has reviews on, just to see if anyone has like mentioned, oh, this is a good flavoring, and they use it in what. It's difficult to say if someone says, oh, this flavoring is 10 out of 10. That doesn't cut it for me, because I need to know, was it 10 out of 10 in what recipe. So I prefer going off the recipe basis than the actual review basis, just to narrow it down. And then from there, I would buy like 1, 2, sometimes 4, if it's something that I'm really trying to nail down, or I think that it needs. So your notes will sometimes tell you, oh, this mango is good, but it needs another mango to support it. Then you already know that you need to get another mango. It's not potent enough. And then that's how I make my purchasing decisions.
Cool, guys. So, I mean, 4 very different routes, but, you know, a lot of similarities in there. I guess what we want to know from you guys, did we miss something? Is there something else that we should be looking at? please
Yeah.
leave those in the comments below. And if your process follows a bit of a different direction, leave that in the comments below as well. But thank you so much for watching this episode, and see you guys next week. Cheers, man.
Cheers.